Welcome everybody to Interview ROI, how to get yourself booked on the ideal podcast, as well as giving professional interviews to expand your reach. My name is Casey Eberhart, based out of Los Angeles, California, and many of you I know as I saw looking at you coming through the participant section. So first off, let me just say welcome to all of my friends that are in here. I have a couple of amazing people that are going to be joining us. And I'm going to introduce them as we go. So I'm along here with my co-host, Bijal. You and I are going to get to know Bijal even more throughout the presentation today. So now I'm going to just tell you guys a heads up. I have computers and phones all around me. So if I look like I'm in the NASA Space Center, it's just trying to maintain and control all the technology to better enhance your experience. So if you see me looking off here, you will notice I even have a little thing right here in front of my computer that says, look here, which may be just one of the small little tips we're going to give you throughout today. So let's jump right in. We have a ton of information for you this morning, and it is going to be imperative that you keep up, take notes, and let's go ahead and get started. So let's start with our objective. What is our objective today? Our objective today is to teach you how to get more visibility, generate more leads, generate more sales by becoming the best podcast interview guest speaker that you possibly can. Okay? Now, let me just say, this is something that I have used in my personal business for the better part of probably 10 years. And so we decided that we would crack open sort of using me as a model, using people and coaches and advisors that work with some of the best media presenters on the planet. So if you and I don't know each other, let me just do a quick introduction of myself. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but my name is Casey Eberhart. I'm a business coach and strategist. I have bought, sold, and built 12 companies personally. I currently run a mastermind training accountability coaching program called the Platinum Inner Circle. So let me just give a huge shout out to all my Platinum Inner Circle members that are on with us today. It's great to see you guys here, and I'm super, super honored that you take some time to hang out with us today. So awesome. I've worked with entrepreneurs and speakers and trainers and coaches pretty much for the past part of 15 years, but really dialed into working with entrepreneurs and business owners over the last decade. I'm super, super fortunate to be asked to speak pretty much all over the world. It's absolutely awesome. I love it. I have a huge opportunity. I spend a lot of time down in Australia. So good day to all my Aussies that are on with us today as well. And in the network marketing space, I've been a top income earner in 2 different companies. I'm currently a #1 income earner. The slide is, it's a week old, but I'm currently the #1 income earner in a company. And I'm a huge Disneyland fan. In fact, so much so that just over here, if you look, this is one of my lucky charms. This is my super secret Mickey Mouse ears on the Tiki Room, which is my favorite ride at Disneyland. And this just happens to be designed by my favorite artist of all time, who I'm also friends with, a guy by the name of Shag. It's just a couple of little logistics for how today is going to work. In the chat box, we are all monitoring the chat. So really, whoever is talking and whoever's doing the presentation, we've got a team that's monitoring the chat. They will help us interact with you. So if I don't look like we're looking at the chat box, we have people that are monitoring the chat and getting questions answered inside there. Don't be surprised if your question, either somebody doesn't respond to it, or we respond with the answer, or we say, hey, wait, that's coming up. One of the things that we find, especially when we've gone through this, is that people have questions, but we know that they are 3-4 slides down the pathway. So you may just get a thing that says, hey, hold tight, hang tough. She's gonna get to that. She's gonna answer that. He's gonna talk about that a little bit later. In the bottom left corner of your screen, if you are not familiar with Zoom, I am making a giant assumption here that pretty much the whole world now are Zoom masters. But even if you are a Zoom master, there's always new things to learn. I learned 3 new things about Zoom just yesterday that are absolutely phenomenal. And one of them is the mute button actually works. Turns out the mute button doesn't work if you don't press it. Again, ask me how I know, right? So keep yourself on mute. It's located in the bottom left corner of your screen. When you are on mute, it will have a line through the microphone, okay? Now, as you can see here, this was our rehearsal last night. I am the only one that is smiling sincerely. Everybody else was trying to crack me up. And so here's the deal. What we would like for you to do is in the upper right corner, you're going to see a thing that probably says gallery view or speaker view. And what we'd like you to do is go to speaker view, and then in the top bar where it probably says, it's a little green bar and it says view option, if you will just drop that down and put side by side, you'll get a better experience in how the presentation works. That way you'll get to see the slide, you'll get to see the presenter, and you won't be distracted by everybody else. I'm just curious where you guys are all from. We've got a ton of folks on here. I'd love for you to just, let's see if your fingers are warmed up and chatty. Go ahead and in the chat box, just tell me where you're from. We got Colorado Springs, Jen Draper, Linda Feinholz, LA, Rusty Valley, I said Value Village, that's a thrift shop in Washington. Vegas, we got San Diego, we got LA, Colorado Springs, Jose, Portland, wherever I park, that's hilarious, that's gotta be Kyoto. Colorado Springs, lots of Colorado folks in the house tonight. Awesome. Santa Monica in the house. That was Ryan. Ryan, I'll take you off mute here in a little bit as well. Vegas is in the house. My gosh, we have people from all over. This is like, do we have anybody from international that's outside the country? London, England, bam, shazam. We can truly say, you guys, we are global. So awesome. I just want to be able to work in the word Renaissance for our England folks. It's Renaissance in America. It's Renaissance out in England. I always crack up about that. I don't know why. That's my own. Quarantine, California. Glenn Thornton in the house. Glenn, best-selling author. I just saw that. Congratulations, Glenn. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay. Costa Rica, Sarah Baslow in the house. Welcome, welcome, Sarah. Down all the way in South America. I hope you are staying safe down there as well. Okay, now we have got a couple of things for you guys to do. You do not have to do this during the workshop, but we have created an amazing workbook that will basically take what we go through today and give you the action items, and it's in workbook form. That's available to you for free, obviously, as joining us here today. And you'll go download that at expandworkshops.com/download, okay? Again, no need to go do that now. You can do that later. You can do that at the end, but you'll go to expandworkshops.com/download, okay? Now, this is a participation workshop, meaning we're going to be very extensive on the chat. We're going to be asking for feedback, lots of questions, lots of feedback. I'm going to say primarily we're going to be doing this inside of the chat box. So the website again for the workbook is expandworkshops.com/download. Okay. And we'll have one of our trusty team put that in the chat window for you as well, Dana. That is no problem whatsoever. Let's talk about this from a broad perspective, you guys. Here's the deal. Why do you care? Why do we care? Why does anybody care if we could become better guests on podcasts, right? So I'm going to focus a little bit on how I've used the ability to be interviewed on podcasts to really kind of do the thing that most business owners and entrepreneurs are looking to do. Save time and make more money, right? So everything that comes from me is really going to be about how we take you and level up or skill up your ability to give an amazing interview for a podcaster and translate that podcaster and that podcaster's audience into potential leads and opportunities for your business. It's critical that we really understand why this is important. So look, here's the thing. When you can speak to a large audience or somebody else's audience and you help that podcaster look amazing, the whole world works easier. It just really does. And so what we're going to really talk about today is how to give a better interview, how to be better prepared. There's a lot of competition in people trying to get on podcasts. So we're going to set you up literally in how you can cut through the clutter. And we have amazing presenters that do this for huge podcasters, both in front of the mic and behind the mic. Okay. So we are going to kind of jump right ahead and go right into the difference between a podcast and an interview. So for the purposes of today, we're going to use them kind of interchangeable. Okay. Now, a podcast is an audio program you can download, listen to. Most people, by the way, you guys, subscribe to an average of 7 podcasts. Okay. I didn't know that that stat was even a thing until I heard it by a very, very famous podcaster. And then I went and I looked at how many I subscribe to. You know how many it is? 7, right? So it was right in line. So I want you to be able to get in front of the top 7 podcasts that your audience may be subscribed to. They're usually anywhere from 10 to 90 minutes long. I have a friend of mine who mixes it up a bit. He does little snack bites at 10 minutes, and then he does up to 90-minute podcasts. So it really is all over the map in terms of time. And you can do video. I would say, you know, I do probably 2 to 3 podcasts a week, and I would say 90% of them we record on video, even though they may only use the audio. But we'll talk about what you can do with the video of that podcast a little bit later today. So media cast, you know, when you level this really thing up, be prepared, you guys. With Ray and Maria, you're going to end up being asked to be on documentaries and TV shows, Facebook live streams, YouTube videos, and now what's really cool is now even LinkedIn is getting in the video game. Here's why. People consume video. That is the number one reason that a lot of these podcasts are doing videos as well as audios, because audio, a lot of times people are listening to it on a headset at the gym or on a hike or whatever. Whereas if they're out at their house or they're at Starbucks or whatever, they might be watching just on video. Okay. So a lot of new podcasts and a lot of new interview shows are starting to use both audio and visual. So I think today you're going to be blown away, especially as we dig in with Ray and Maria. We've got an exercise coming up. I'm not even sure if I'm supposed to tell you. It might be a surprise and I might get in trouble for this. If you look at Bijal and he's like looking down like he's texting me, that's like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. But we've got an amazing exercise for you guys coming up in a little bit that's going to blow your minds. It's going to blow your minds of the transformation that you're going to see literally in yourself in a matter of a few minutes. So let me introduce my partner in crime with this whole operation. You know, this is my friend Bijal Palmer. He is an amazing partner to have in this. I am going to let him tell his story because if I start talking about Bijal and start giving him accolades and doing a proper introduction, here's the reality. We told you guys we were going to keep you for only a few hours, but it would go on for days and days and days. And here's why. Bijal is just one of those guys that you need to have in your back pocket. Everybody needs a Bijal. And this guy cares more, learns more, tries more, does more, produces more, engages more, helps lift people up better and more than anybody I know. And literally, I've known Bijal for over a decade. We've been on speaking tours together. We've spoke all over the world together. And when I called him and I said, hey, I'm looking for someone that I can kind of work with and bring into the fold, who do you know? And he said, well, who's it for? And I said, me. And he literally said, I'm your guy. Let's go play. And so here we are today. And Bijal, I'm just thrilled and honored to have you as part of my just my partnership. And it's just awesome. So B, by the way, I refer to him as B. So if you hear me throw it to B, that's the reason why. So with you guys, please help me welcome Bijal.
Casey, thank you so much. I just grabbed the tissues just to kind of dab down my eyes over here. Just how wonderful introduction that was. So for those of you who don't know me, I have a background in engineering. Look, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out this interview game, but I just happen to be one by education. But that wasn't my first love. My first love, I think, has always been working with people right from high school. But I transitioned from engineering about 20 years ago into the world of entrepreneurship. And then more recently, around 10 years ago, into the world of speaking. So that's kind of where my story starts. In 2011, I got on stage for the very first time. It was 18 years in the making, meaning that in 1992, months after I graduated, I happened to be invited to a big multi-level network marketing event. I was sat there in the middle of the audience, and for the first time, I saw an inspirational, motivational speaker, and I thought, wow, I want to do that. I want to be able to get on stage and inspire and motivate people. But back then, 20 years ago, at least from my experience, everybody I saw, you know what, it's 30 years ago. I just kind of de-aged myself 10 years. This happened almost 30 years ago. Everyone I saw were 6 foot tall white guys. Now you can't see me, but I can tell you I'm not 6 foot tall and neither am I white. And I created a belief system that I wasn't tall enough, white enough, and smart enough and successful enough to be a speaker. It took 18 years to overcome that belief. I finally got the opportunity in 2011 to step on stage, and it was the most nervous thing I've ever done. And I really didn't do a great job that first time, but something happened. From that moment on, for the next 8 or so years, the very first person that I would typically talk to right after coming off stage was Casey Eberhart. And we'd have a debrief right away. And what I want to pass on to you is this: professional feedback helps you improve. I want you to go ahead and write that down. If you're going to write down anything today, write this down. Professional feedback is going to help you improve no matter what you are doing, okay? But here's the thing about professional feedback. Professional feedback can only be given by blank. I want you to go and put it down in the chat. Who are you going to take professional feedback from, right? So think about your career, where you are right now. No matter what you're going to do, there's always room for improvement. But who are you going to listen to when it comes to room for improvement? Well, here's a clue. If you're going to take professional feedback from anybody, take it from a professional or professionals, right? That's the key. But here's what's reality. We often will listen to the naysayers in this world. No matter what we do, we tend to just listen to the input given to us, and they may not be the right people to give you the right feedback to enhance your career. So again, always get feedback from the right people. So how did this interviewing thing start? Just over 2 years ago, my dad was visiting us. We live in Las Vegas, and my dad and my mom decided to visit us after a good few years. And before they came, I was thinking about my relationship to my dad, and it's kind of ironic that we have Father's Day coming up tomorrow. And, you know, at that point, we had an okay relationship. You know, we've had a very big kind of difference of opinions on lifestyle and career. He was a career banker, and I've been an entrepreneur. So we didn't have a lot of common ground. And I thought, you know, my dad at that point was about reaching, going to be 78 that year. And I'm very well aware that every time I get to see my parents, it could be the last time, being very frank and open with you and authentic with you. And I didn't want to, our last moments together be of tension and disagreements. So I decided to interview my dad about his youth. He had a fascinating backstory of growing up in a village in India, pretty poor, going over by ship to Africa in his teenage years. He was a leading scout in Africa. He had adventures in the jungle, being chased by lions, and amazing adventures. And then finally, he came from Africa to England with pretty much the clothes on his back, never seeing snow, and he landed, during the winter, the months of England, with his jacket and shirt, and seeing the snow for the very first time. Very little money. So incredible stories. And I wanted to capture these stories by interviewing my dad, really as a way of showing my appreciation, gratitude for who he was as a person and how much influence he's had on my life. But I also wanted to leave a library of information for my kids and maybe my grandkids and so on. So kind of a legacy. So we did the interview and it went great from the perspective of building a relationship with my father. However, when I look back at that, I had no media training. And, having a successful speaking career, I was very self-critical of all the things I did wrong as an interviewer. So somewhere in the back of my mind, I planted a seed of, I may want to improve this skill one day. A few months later, my oldest daughter, she got the opportunity of interviewing celebrities during the Emmys on the red carpet. And she had a very natural flair for interviewing people and being able to just ask the right questions. So when I met Ray and Maria towards the kind of, I think it was around Thanksgiving of 2019, so about several months ago, my mind immediately went to, these folks would be great mentors for my daughter. So I told Shivani, hey, you guys want to, if you have an interest in improving your interviewing skills, you'd want to talk to Ray and Maria. And that basically led into today, myself, my wife Yogi, who's on this workshop today, and my daughter, all being students of Ray and Maria. So I'm going to just go off screen share for a second and just introduce you to Ray and Maria. So first of all, Maria and Ray, welcome to the workshop.
Thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Thank you, Master
Maria,
B. We love you.
Thanks so much, Ray. So let's just kind of go back to that very first conversation. We got talking, and you started to share some of your background, and you're such both humble individuals, yet you've had 20 years experience interviewing celebrities, business icons. The information you must have gathered about people must be tremendous. So let's start with Maria's story here. Maria, why and how did you get started with interviewing people?
Well, Bijal, a lot like you, I was born in Saigon, Vietnam, and came over to the States in a refugee in a big military ship, and was a refugee for several months and landed in Belton, Missouri. So I grew up thinking I was blonde hair and blue-eyed. I wanted to be, the cheerleader, and I wanted to be the popular kid, just like what most kids want to do. And it was about around 13 years of age, I started watching, I think it was like True Hollywood Stories, biographies or something like that. And it started to ignite a fire in me, because I was curious about, how does somebody become a superstar? How did they become a film star and get to the top of their game? And I was really intrigued with the Hollywood world. But as I looked around, there was nobody on the screen that looked like me. There was no Vietnamese girls on the big screen. So I suppressed it. I wasn't sure what that was going to be. I mean, I knew that I didn't want to be an actor. But fast forward, when I met Ray, and he was an EMS, emergency medical service speaker, and he was speaking at keynote conferences, and was a firefighter paramedic. And I teamed up with him. Well, I naturally fell into his business, which was running the marketing side, because he was also speaking and training EMS professionals. And then one day he just kind of asked me, if there's anything that you want to do, what would that be? And I was really nervous to share this, because I felt so vulnerable, and I felt really foolish and silly. And I said, well, I would really love to have a success talk show interviewing celebrities and influencers and people who have achieved great things in their lives, because there's no map, there's no guide for children to learn how to go after their dreams, or even how to pursue something like that. And he basically said, well, let's figure this out. And
time out, Maria. One second. Yeah. Ray, you give your wife the permission to say, hey, wife, what would you like to do? Anything in the world. And your wife basically says, oh, I want to be a celebrity interviewer. I have no experience. I'm not the typical model. What was your immediate thought, Ray, about what Maria just said to you?
Yeah, well, this is crazy, because I was stable. I mean, being a firefighter is one of the most stable professions in the world. And to hear something like that, and to go into something that is completely another world to us, was mind-boggling. So actually, I stuffed it for a little while. I tucked it away. And Bijal, something happened. I started to own that dream. I started to think about, I don't have to have this stable profession. I don't have to I don't even have to stay in Canada, because Maria was an American. So when she presented that to me, and I said, let's go do this. First of all, everybody on the fire department thought I was absolutely crazy. Yeah. And I actually thought we were crazy. When
Which is kind of ironic, Ray, since you guys run into fires. Like for most of us sitting here, the thought of running into fires, that kind of sounds crazy. But go ahead. That kind of gives us an idea of the kind of caliber of people you guys really are.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a short story, a short version of a very long story. It was a rough road for us because we had no media background and we took a major leap of faith and we just went out there. We ended up losing everything financially. We lost our home. I took my retirement income. I dumped it into the production. We thought in order to be a talk show, you had to be a big kind of like an Oprah style studio talk show. So we booked a theater out at Planet Hollywood, the V Theater, and we shot about 6 pilot shows and then ran out of money. And guess what? 2008 hit. It just wiped us out completely. So we were actually in a position to move forward in the only way that we knew how, and that was to move forward with what we had, and that was each other and a camera. We didn't have any budget for any shows, so we actually went to a convention. It was the National Association of Broadcasters convention. I remember one of our video editors actually said, "Why don't you go there and you'll learn a little bit about the industry," because we knew nothing. So when we arrived, I realized that the majority of the people there in the broadcast world were terrified about the change that was happening in the media world. And that was this evil thing called the internet was coming. And they couldn't figure out how to make this work for them. They didn't know how to make it work financially. So when we were trying to learn broadcast, and they were actually trying to learn new media, a big light bulb went on. And I said to Maria, I said, we don't need to get into broadcast. We need to get into what we're already into, and that's new media. That's the world that we understood. So we decided to move forward with what we knew, and we did it in a bootstrap fashion. And that was basically, again, it was only us and a camera. And our editor, our editor said, why don't you get onto a red carpet? Because you can actually Ray can learn how to use the camera and you can get access to some interviews that way. So we did. Maria, being the expert positioner that she is and master negotiator, and loving person, trusting person, she sweet talked a few publicity agencies, and we ended up getting not only our first red carpet, but we ended up getting an exclusive interview with the legendary Stevie Wonder in his room privately for about 10 minutes while many other media outlets were shut out. Now that's a story in itself, how that happened.
So Maria, 20 years of interviewing celebrities.
Quit saying that. You're making me feel so old. Gosh.
But it's the wealth of wisdom that you guys have from being both sides of the mic, or at least the interviewing side of the mic, and learning the nuggets from celebrities and even business icons itself. And I know that's what we've basically embedded into today's workshop. So we will come back to you guys in just a moment. We're going to continue on with the show, with the workshop. But thank you guys so much for joining myself and Casey for sharing your wisdom today. If you didn't realize, what I just did was essentially from several weeks of training Ray and Maria. So that was almost an interview style introduction. And that's what we want, guys, we want to get across to you of how you can do that on both sides of the mic to expand your business. So with that said, Ray and Maria, thank you so much for playing along. I know that I didn't actually tell you that's what I was going to do to introduce you, but if anyone picked up on that, it would have been you guys.
I'm going to just probably keep using myself as an example, because at the end of the day, I'm just a guy that does a lot of stuff on podcasts. I do about 2 to 3 a week, and have really understood in working with Ray and Maria and other folks around me how that message and that podcasting interview can be leveraged throughout the world. So several of you on here, I know I was just looking through the participants, several of you I know. Okay, so I'm about to ask you a question. If you know, because you've seen me speak before and you've seen me ask this question, I want you to use this as a proof that I have said it once. I'll say it a bazillion times. If you've never seen me, you have no idea, or you don't know who Bijal is, or whatever, you don't know anything about anything. Well, you know stuff about stuff, but you know what I'm saying. Let me ask you this, and I'm gonna ask you to put it in the chat. Who is the most powerful, influential woman in the world? Most powerful, influential in the world? Michelle Obama, Oprah, Oprah, Oprah. All I need to do, all I need to go. You're all gonna put Oprah, right? Oh, we got Michelle and Oprah, Oprah, Oprah. This is really interesting. Only Michelle and Oprah. Oprah, Oprah, Meghan Markle, right? Absolutely. Okay. Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, Bijal, if you could go to the next slide. And this is how confident I knew you were going to say Oprah. We put the slide in, right? And here is the deal, you guys. Oprah is, she's kind of been off the air for about 20 years as her current talk show. I asked this in front of every audience I'm fortunate enough to be invited to speak with, right? And a lot of times I'll even ask this right on an interview inside of a podcast. And it's kind of funny because most podcasters aren't really going to know how to answer, and they almost always land on Oprah. Here's why. She was a master of her craft of the interview. Master of the craft of the interview. But here's the thing. If you watch celebrity after celebrity, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, politicians, religious leaders, people of really, really high influence, almost always will go back and say that the turning point for them was being interviewed by Oprah. And so today, what we want to be able to spend time focusing on is essentially how to get interviewed by someone like Oprah, right? So at the pinnacle of this, we're getting interviewed by Oprah. When we're just starting out, we're going to be interviewed by maybe some friends, maybe some family members, and then we'll move into that podcast category. But I want you, the thing that I think is really important about understanding how powerful and influential Oprah actually is at the end of the day, she's in media, right? Now, I want you to think about that for a second. She's in media. She is doing what Maria did on the red carpet. She is utilizing a medium to attract content to her, leveraging other people's content plus their reach to bring back more sales and opportunities. And so really that's what I want you to focus on for today is this Oprah effect. And we're going to talk about it for just a little bit. I want you to be able to create an actual strategy. Okay. And we're going to break this down bit by bit, piece by piece. When you walk away today, you're going to have these in your back pocket, right? And they're also part of the workbook. Okay. We're going to show you how to create a pitch aimed at your perfect ideal audience. So one of the things that's really important is to know who your ideal audience member or your ideal client is. Then I want you to find podcasts that talk to those particular audience members, right? Seems easy, and we're going to make it super easy for you throughout today. Now, we don't even know where these podcasts are, so we got to figure out a strategy to actually find them. Remember, if we only usually subscribe to 7 or so, the reality is there are gazillions. I don't know if gazillions is actual terminology, but I'm going to use it in my own head, gazillions, right? And giving a great interview is, it's like the cherry on top. But here's the thing I'm going to tell you, and this is off script, you guys, so let me just say it's off script. Your first few are going to suck. Your first few interviews may not be Oprah caliber. That's okay, but we're never going to get to Oprah caliber if we don't start somewhere. So we're going to remove the scary throughout this entire day today, and then we're going to actually talk about how to take those interviews that you give for other folks and leverage them to create sort of I'll use it as a market like Coolio. If you remember Coolio in the 80s, that dude was everywhere all the time in the music scene. Right? The most common person right now that kind of markets like Coolio is Pitbull. Pitbull will sing a Taylor Swift, a line in a Taylor Swift song, and he'll also sing a line in, I don't know, Brad Paisley. Oh my God, I just pulled a country singer out. Good gravy, Maria. It is clearly a morning, right? But what are they doing? They're inserting their name in the conversation and attracting that person's fan. They're leveraging that singer's audience to attract more opportunity for them to share their message, their voice with the world. So that's what we're gonna really focus on. So